Hey everybody, Jason Blaha here with Ice Cream Fitness, and actually I'm eating some ice cream right now. This is mint chocolate chip. Well, let me give you guys a bicep shot. And actually, I'm going to eat about 1,200 calories worth of this mint chocolate chip ice cream today, and I'm going to do so while still successfully eating enough whole foods to hit the RDA on all of my micronutrients, meaning vitamins and minerals, while still getting over 200 grams of protein today and still eating a balanced, healthy diet. And tomorrow I will probably have a drop less body fat than I had today. And why can I do this? Because I'm a fucking wizard. Okay, no, not really. Because I'm a fucking genius. Well, actually, I am. But that aside, no, it's because I actually know nutritional science. Um, I own a calculator and I can do basic mathematics. So this gives me the ability to actually get away with doing things like that. And it's skills that would help all of you in getting the physiques you want while maintaining your health and enjoying the foods that you still eat. Now, that aside, today I want to talk to you about um, extremists and morons in bodybuilding and the fitness community and why we can't have nice things. And the reason for that being is that every time we try to apply science, any of us, or our experience, or combine the two and give people basic rules and ideas to explain how things work, you have people who either take those ideas and try to run with them to the furthest extremes, to the complete to the point to where they're counterproductive, or people are just such morons that they either don't grasp it or they also take them to such extremes and completely out of the context of what we're doing, that it just destroys all the positive things that a lot of us try to do when we try to apply these principles and give them to people. And I see it on forums every day. I see it in the YouTube community. And I'll give you a couple of examples. And, one example again, that if it fits your macros and flexible dieting thing, there are literally people who are so fucking stupid that when we try to explain this, because they do not know basic nutrition, they assume that we mean that you can literally eat a diet of nothing but ice cream, Twinkies, and Pop Tarts all day, and pizza, and hit your macros, and they even think sometimes we just mean your calories, and they really don't understand how it works. They don't seem to even grasp the concept of how you couldn't balance that, or they don't seem to grasp that most of us are saying you need to get your micronutrients too. Plus, these people don't even understand sometimes how many micronutrients are in foods, or that you don't need more than a certain amount of any vitamin or mineral in your diet, and anything beyond that is not only not beneficial, in some cases it can actually kill you. But they don't always seem to grasp that because they don't know basic nutritional science. So you get some of that, or you get people who decide they're going to try it, and they literally take it to the extreme that they think they actually try to go on a diet of whey protein for their for their protein, soda or table sugar their for their carbs, and then vegetable shortening or Crisco for their fat, or just straight butter. And I mean, just the level of fucking stupidity that it takes for someone to actually. We have, um, the same thing when we talk about meal timing and things. And you get, and other people I respect and know who do some of these things, but they take them to extremes that you don't need to. So again, we say that meal timing is largely irrelevant. For bodybuilding purposes, fitness purposes, it's personal preference. But then you get people who go, well, I just want to eat one meal a day, and they do it, and for some people it works great, but for others it's not feasible. And I mean, we could even argue that it's not optimal to cut down to only a single meal a day. And you get people who even do that when they're bulking, and they decide that they're going to eat a single meal a day of 5,000 calories, and I mean, and they end up being bloated and lethargic, and it's just um, it's a little impractical. And again, it's unnecessary extremism. They could probably do fine if they just broke that up into 2 meals or 3 meals, And when we say these things, just to get away from this typical nonsense of that you need 6 meals or 8 meals or 10 meals a day or whatever, which is, we know conclusively in science that there is no anabolic benefits to this, that there are no fat burning benefits or metabolic benefits to doing this. It's really outdated stuff that was hypothetical at best when it was even proposed, and has been, pretty well taken apart by the research. We know there's no merit to it. And so oftentimes when we make these statements, we're trying to break away from these things, not to tell people to go to unnecessary extremes that could potentially be slightly counterproductive or some sort of negative in your life like that. Such as eating only one meal a day. For some people, that's not only highly impractical, it's highly uncomfortable. So it's unnecessary. Um, or even when we try to explain to people, to get people so that they don't try to micromanage alternating days and carb cycling and excessive calorie cycling and things for workout days versus non-workout days, and you try to explain that the human digestive system doesn't even work on a 24-hour cycle, that you haven't even absorbed all of your food from yesterday, even right at this moment. You haven't done it. It's still digesting. You're still breaking a lot of it down, including the protein and fats and things. And it's to get people away from this. We'll try to say things like, which is true, that your weekly, intake and weekly deficits and surpluses have a much larger role on your weekly changes in body composition than once a day does, or than your daily intake does. And then, you get people who, again, they want to take these two extremes and think that it means they can eat 1,000-calorie diet for 3 or 4 days in a row and then make up the other calories on the other day, and they're not going to lose muscle mass or from this. And again, as the people try to take these things to extremes that we don't mean when we're discussing this, or why we bring the point up. And again, people take things to unnecessary extremes, and that would be the extremist end. And then just the complete moron end would be the people who say, well, I'm just going to fast every other day, or fast 2 days at a time and then eat 3 days worth of food every third day. And, again, that's the level of idiocracy is overwhelming. And then again, we'll see the exact same thing when it comes to training. When you try to explain to people that scientifically, we know for a fact that given the right loads, the workloads and everything, and in the right context, that even very, very low reps can still produce just as much direct tissue hypertrophy, both myofibrillar and sarcoplasmic, just as much as doing higher reps in the hypertrophy range. And people will take that out of context, and they think that means that they can literally just go do a bunch of 1-rep maxes, do 5 or 6 1-rep maxes and then go home, and that they're going to get huge or amounts of, or even ideal hypertrophy from doing this. And again, it's not what any of us are saying. It's absurd. It's people who clearly don't understand the science or what we're presenting when some of us try to make these points. Because again, they haven't even taken into account the total workload or time under tension of what they're doing. They're still only doing 6 total reps. That's not very much time under tension or workload. And that of course, is not optimal for hypertrophy. But 5 sets of 5 is. 10 sets of 3, with anything over 85% 1-rep max, is 3-rep sets with heavy weight. And I guarantee you can get big as fuck doing that. So, again, there's a huge difference between the two. Or we see the same things, and I saw this when I put up my routine the other day, my novice routine. Of most of us realize who understand how bodybuilding works and the body works, that isolation movement should be de-emphasized, and that most of your muscle growth is going to come from compound movements. And, the isolation movements should make up a smaller percentage of your training. But then it's when you try to address muscle groups that are going to be, again, people's favorites, and they're going to be muscle groups that are very likely to lag, such as the biceps. And when you try to put curls into a routine for a novice, now granted, you're not letting them do 15 sets of curls in a session like what they read in a magazine. They've been de-emphasized. You're letting someone do 3 sets of curls here and there in a novice routine that is based around heavy barbell work and progressive overload. you get the Nazis, the compound Nazis, who then come in and say, no, no, they shouldn't be doing curls at all. Why have you put curls or direct arm work into this routine for a novice? When again, if they understood the biomechanics of the body and that for bodybuilding purposes, if they fucking knew anything, they would know that it's only a small percentage of people can build great biceps purely off of compound movements, and that they will see some additional bicep growth from the isolation movements, and it will keep a novice trainee happier and on the program longer, and they're not as likely to drop a very effective program. And two, that if they don't realize that direct tricep work will directly contribute to the amount of weight that you can move on the bench press and the standing press, then clearly they don't know anything about powerlifting either. So, again, people criticize these things when you try to do something like that, and they take it to an unnecessary extreme. And again, we see these things, and it's just, I don't know, this is just a bit of a rant on my part. Talking about just the stupidity we see with some of this, or just the unnecessary extremes when we try to give people rules and guidelines, and the way that people misinterpret them, or they run with them to the farthest possible extreme to the point to where it becomes detrimental. I don't know. It frustrates me sometimes to no end, and it really frustrates me sometimes in even trying to help people. And so, and a lot of other people feel the same way. And that's why a lot of people who are very knowledgeable don't bother to help anybody anymore or put information out online because of this problem. And so I would urge you that stop and just use a little bit of common sense and think things through when any of us, whether it's myself or people I respect like Alan Aragon or Martin Burkholm or Lane Norton, or even someone like Ian McCarthy gives you a scientifically based statement or something that can be proven, and they try to give you some decent rules to follow to help you, try to just step back and use a little common sense and ask, wait a minute, are they really trying to tell me that I should take this to the farthest possible extreme, or are they just giving me some good information and general guidelines that will help me based upon the science and the data, or their real world experience, or a combination thereof? And is it really necessary for me to try to take the advice they gave me to the farthest possible idiotic extreme? So again, please just try to have just a little bit of common sense with it. And that's all I have to say on that subject today. Hold on, let me give you guys a couple more bicep shots. And I'll talk to you next time.